Okay, so our project is Andriate. I'm Solomon Moore.
I'm Jason Woods.
I'm Pascal.
Dave Gross.
So Andriate is an Android application that allows the user to take a picture of sheet music, and then it's going to take that information and store it as an audio file to play back to help with learning. It's going to be written in Java, and it uses the OpenCV library. So the first step in the process is running a trained cascade filter. What it does, we train this filter using hundreds of positive samples, things that contain what we're looking for, and hundreds of negative samples, things that contain what we aren't looking for. And then once it finds a likely area that contains the sheet music, ignoring data such as words or artists or composers or stuff like that, it's going to automatically crop the section to make the processing easier afterwards.
The next step is basically just getting rid of all the leftover parts, having to do with color and everything, and then orienting it the right way. So basically what happens is first convert it to binary, that way it's just straight black and white, and then use a Huff transform to find the staff lines, and then that can be used to, you can calculate the angle of it, and then you can rotate the image so that it's more horizontal, so that'll help later on for template matching. And then also, once that occurs, the next step was finding the staff lines, because basically what we're doing is we're figuring out the exact positions of them, and then we're going to match that up later with the note heads to figure out what the pitch of each note is going to be. So I did that also again using Huff transform, which recognizes the lines. It's still a little, it works most of the time. There's still a couple bugs that I need to work out in, but it's coming along.
So one of the bigger features that we're working on right now is note head recognition, which uses the OpenCV functions to recognize like circles and whatnot. We needed to find the position of the note based on the staff in order to play whatever pitch we need to. One of the issues that we're probably going to run into, along with like taking pictures of each staff and set of notes, is that every page of music will have different looks for all the notes, so it may be harder to recognize some notes compared to the others. So we haven't completely worked on that yet, but that's just one thing we've considered in the process of it. And then from there, we're going to be using template matching to figure out what type of note it actually is. Template matching will end up providing a bunch of different files or examples of what each note should look like, and we'll try to match it to the closest sample and identify what type of note it is based on that.
And then the final thing is, once we have all note data, just store it in a MIDI file. So the file path is stored in an SQL-like database as supported by Android. Because we scan note by note, this led to the MIDI file format because it's very easy to insert these note values as a MIDI file. They require less storage than MP3 or things like that, so it's very easy to play them back. And each file stores information about time values, timing, and tracks. Fortunately, MIDI support for Android was appreciated, but we are using an open source library created by Alex Leffelman, and this has high-level functions which allow us to easily create a MIDI file and insert values into it.
I just want to say thanks to Professor Goldschmidt, Professor Morthy, Professor Stewart, Sean O'Sullivan, all of you guys. Are there any questions?
Does your program track time changes?
So with terms of time signature, what it's going to do, that's going to be imported by the user, because it's just something we want to deal with. So if the user knows what the time, they'll be able to adjust. It's not meant to transcribe a whole sheet of music. It's supposed to be individual sections that musicians having issues learning. So we think that goes beyond the scope of this project, but there is an option for the user, or there will be an option for the user to designate the time signature. Yes?
Can you use the time signature information to help with your visual recognition of notes? So obviously there can't be 3 half notes in a measure. We have a half and 2 quarters. So
yeah, actually, I don't think we even thought about doing that.
That would
We'll keep it in mind.
That definitely help out because if you know one's a half and you're not sure about another note, there are two left. It can't be a half note.
That's exactly it. Right now, it doesn't fit into our project currently, but I think they'll become useful later on when we get to the actual making sure the project works. Because right now we're still building it. But thank you for the suggestion. Anything else? Yeah.
Does it work for only one staff at a time, or can you do like piano music, which is 2, or choir music, which is 4?
We designed it to be for one staff line at a time because maybe afterwards we'll implement something to make it more than one. But again, we wanted to stick to the one section that the musician was having trouble. In the back of our mind too, if we get into larger sections for recording whole songs, that gets a little bit into the territory of like copyright issues, that sort of thing. So we wanted to stay as far away from that as possible.
Mine is more frequent. So you only compose the name and what the title of the song and so on, right? Suppose you utilize that, you ignore everything else. You do a query to the search engine and you get a video and you get an audio, you play that. So how do you compare? Is that an easier job or is it?
Well, that works great for published music. I know there's plenty of, at least in my experiences with music performance and things like that, there's a lot of music that are by the composer themselves. We're having guests for festivals and things like that. They haven't published them, but they still want to perform them. And I know, at least for me, which is part of the inspiration why I worked on this project, there were sections that were tricky, and some people need help in those to make sure they get it right.
So another alternative is there must be the internal representation of how the music is represented. Is there a format in which suppose the composer writes it? Is there an internal format in which it is stored?
I'm sorry.
If they typeset if they compose their music, is there an internal form it is stored if they compose it in a computer? Music editing programs.
There are plenty of music writing programs. Their format varies from program to program. I think one of the more popular ones is a format similar to an XML file, but MIDI is also such a format as well.
So that is one possibility, is at least if not going from the paper sheet music, but even if it is that is at least some portions of it you can keep.
It's possible. I don't know if we'll end up doing a sort of query type for the project, but maybe it's a thought once we get the project finished. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you analyze stuff like the type of class that are in the music? Because depending on the type of class and where it's located, different notes may be, similar looking notes may be acted different.
Again, that's another information inputted by the user. The key signature and the clef will dictate what the notes are, the values, and you're correct in that. But it's very simple once that information is stored to use positions to determine what the note is. But yes, the user will provide that in an interface.
And just one more thing. What if certain notation is that isn't like very standard in music? Like, for example, let's say that this particular line has a caesura right in the middle of it. How would the user also have to somehow like capture that, or?
The reason for this project is to help with the technical components of the music learning the note values, the rhythm, all forms of expression and music dynamics should fall to the musicians themselves for implementation, because that's half of playing music. But also, I know again plenty of performances which ignore formats in the sheet music game, such as dynamic markings and stuff like that, and they substitute their own. So I don't think it would, although it's possible, I think it would be very difficult. Again, a lot of it wouldn't be within what we wanted for this project. This is supposed to be a learning tool, not necessarily a performance tool, if that makes sense. Did that answer your question? Yes.
Where are you now in terms of how far along you are in the project?
So right now I'm finishing up working on the Cascade filter to copy images. I ran into a lot of issues actually because OpenCV had some very awful documentation. So the training of the Cascade took many hours of research, and I'm currently in the process of that. I think you're moving on to determining the node value based on the node head. We talked a lot, the concept, we're kind of halfway through most of them. And then once that's all done, we're going to work on the actual Android application and packaging it. That's probably at least a week and a half or so. So, yes?
Just an idea for a feature. Since it's a learning tool, just an idea is maybe be able to input your instrument and then it'll show your fingering or how to play the notes.
That's a thought. Haven't really given much thought to that. Maybe we'll look into it after this project to see if we can connect it to some sort of software way for that. Great idea. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hackathon.
So again, with the hackathon, that's not this weekend, but the weekend after, the 19th or
19th and 20th, yeah. I'll be that night.
So if you're interested in helping with that, hang around. We're going to be talking about that for a little bit.
If you still have paid pizza money, come up. I still have the key here. Yeah, that's it.
Also, just on the hackathon, I encourage you all to go, partly because it's a hackathon, so that's cool. But also, we're going to be some RPI folks are going to be taking pictures there of us doing this, and it will probably be in the alumni magazine and other publications. So it's kind of a PR event as well as something to do. So look pretty spartan and engaged in the project.
Well, we're like radicals, let's put the goggles on and just go full time goggles.
Yes. I don't know if it was mentioned previously in past meeting or something, but the hackathon is really a place for you to work on either your RCOS project or another project or someone else's RCOS project.
So it is a time wherein you can concentrate and work on anything. In the last 2 hackathons, I utilized it to finish most of my unfinished work. So it is a great place to concentrate. And more importantly, if you have some simple questions which could be answered by asking your neighbor. So how do we do that? That's it. So the thing might have taken 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours. It could be answered immediately and you can proceed much faster.
Yeah, it's a wonderful environment. There's going to be like food and coffee and everyone's around you.
Yeah.
Like, it's you guys know how to code. Like, you can ask each other questions.
So you don't have to stay the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
You're probably going to be running for quite a few hours. If you want to stop by for 4 hours in the middle, that's cool. Come by.
Also, be nice. That would be
Yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to queue up your own music and listen to tracks out loud. I'll hold everything the entire time.
All right. That's all we have.
You guys are good?
Great code.